Hi, I hope that up to date the things we've spoken about are making sense. There is, however, part of these teachings that always seems to generate a big reaction one way or another. I'm sure you've heard or are familiar with the book, the DVD, The Secret, and maybe the teachings of Abraham Hicks. They both talk about the law of attraction. Because of the sensationalism of this law, many people have just built up an invisible defence wall to prevent them from really understanding it. Some teachings have made it look very basic and easy to initiate, and others attempt to make it so deep and difficult that it's almost impossible to understand. Now, I will do my very best to take away all the mumbo jumbo and just discuss this law in a very simple way. So not only will it make more sense to you, but it will enable you to use it in conjunction with the other parts needed to manifest your goals. Here goes. Very simply, the basic premise of the law of attraction is like attracts like. The problem is, though, that the attraction is created by the signals that you send out, and there's always confusion by people in determining exactly what signals they're sending out. Whatever you focus on attracts more of the same. This is a great quote from Buddha. All we are arises with our thoughts, but with our thoughts we create our world. But I would like to add that thoughts coupled with action create our world. If some things challenge you, just accept them for now. Otherwise you could get bogged down, and something later on may just be the bit that makes sense to you and brings everything together. The biggest problem people have at this point is to decide what a desire is. It gets confused with want, or wow, that would be nice, or I wouldn't mind one of those. As Wally says in The Science of Getting Rich, we all have those feelings, and we need to stay focused on something to the extent that it can become part of the manifestation process. Dig deep to find what it is that you really want and what is your true desire to be, to do and to have in your life. Forming your vision is the real key to all these teachings. It is that picture and the feelings that you get from thinking about it that will give you the ability to stay focused. It's very difficult to maintain a focus on something that you may just want as opposed to something that you truly desire. Think big. Strip away your limitations and understand that you are worthy of it all. In fact, it's your fundamental right. If you think small, that's what you will attract. At this point, it's worth mentioning that you will receive what your dominant thoughts or beliefs are. So it is important to understand how you produce these signals or vibrations. It is this single point that confuses and stalls most people. We're discussing here creating a vision of something you desire and making it so real that you can plug into it and see and feel it at will. Those signals of your visions have to be sent out with the utmost detail and also the absolute faith and belief that you will obtain them. Sending out the signal with underlying doubt about whether or not you are going to achieve things will just confuse and possibly negate the signal. If that doubt is strong enough and contains some inbuilt thoughts such as, I could never do that, or I'm not worthy of that, these things become a self-fulfilling prophecy because they are actually your dominant thought. You'll be able to recall, I'm sure, times in your life when things happened that show you the power of your dominant thoughts and your feelings. It is the premise behind the sayings, the rich get rich and the poor get poorer. They're both just mindset beliefs, and both can change if the person's mindset changes. Even just over short periods, sometimes you will experience the amazing power of allowing your mind to guide you. For example, if things are not going too well, you could do something that takes your mind away from your problem. Possibly go to a concert, watch a film, or just read a book. You will notice that as you allow yourself to get into the world you are creating, even though it's just for a short time, you will be able to focus on other things and take your mind to a new place. I'm sure that you've also experienced having something so major affecting you that, for example, when you try and watch a film, you are not absorbing the content and it doesn't make any sense. The problem you have is dominating your mind, and even though you're watching the film, you're not taking anything in and it doesn't make any sense. That is exactly what happens if you allow your beliefs to take over when you're sending out these signals. You think you're making sense, but as in the scenario of watching the film, nothing is really clear. If in later years you saw that film that made no sense before and you watched it again with your mind clear and excited, things would be totally different. Your experience and what you thought of the film this time could be the exact opposite of your previous recollection. The same film and two totally opposite reviews. The only difference is how you allowed yourself to perceive it. That illustrates so perfectly how important your state of mind is in making these teachings work and creating a clear vision. I said earlier that a lot of the information you hear may challenge you, and not to dwell on trying to work out why you should accept it. Put it to use and the results that you get will increase your faith. Like in the case of the film, you may get into a discussion about it after your first viewing, and there would be things that were hazy and made no sense because your mind was not getting the correct signals to make sense of the information. If you have tried to make these teachings work for you before without success, just approach them this time with the right frame of mind and see what happens. You may not realise this, but all your life you've been doing it subconsciously, but you are now going to learn how to channel the thought and creation process in a directed way. So how do we create our vision? Bearing in mind that doubt can sabotage your vision, we have to be really sure of our faith and belief. The truth is, you can achieve anything that you want to achieve, but the reality is that is possibly the furthest thing from your core belief. It is one of those things that you want to believe but have a blockage that will not allow you to accept it. The energy in you will respond once it is given instructions, so it is important to make sure that you focus on what you want and not on what you don't want. In my experience, when you're focused on what you do want, it seems to eliminate or at least diminish any negative or unwanted thoughts. Be really clear, you cannot transmit an image if you are not sure of it yourself. It would be like going into a restaurant and just asking for food and expecting the kitchen to produce exactly the type of dishes you like. Or sending a jumble of words and expecting the recipient to unscramble them to understand what you're saying. Try and focus on your vision and imagine how you will feel when it arrives. Think of smells, sounds, previous experiences, anything that can help you create a state of being now that is in harmony with how you will feel when you manifest your vision. Remember, you're not creating the future, you're attracting it. So once again, make sure that the signals are what you desire. The reason that you must have to be so careful about knowing what you want and then feeling the enjoyment of it is that you must be vibrating at the same frequency as the thing that you want to attract. This is how my good friend Ken McLean talks about the same energy in selling. Look at all the crazy things people sell out there. To get people excited about what you are selling, you have to be excited yourself. Not a phony, but something that comes from your soul and also inspires you. If you aren't eager to share your product or service, how can you expect anyone else to respond to your sales pitch? And they won't if you're not genuinely excited yourself. Do you see how in every way we have to be totally sold on our emotion before we can transmit it to someone else? And that is exactly what you are doing, sending out a signal to attract the same emotion. The principle is this: thought is the first part of the creation. So nurture the thought, fill in the details, and the thought then starts to materialize, drawing substance to itself. The thought then manifests itself into reality. So the steps are thought, feeling, action, result. Everything we see in the physical world was first created with a thought. And if you are one of the "I'm interested but I have a few things to sort out before I can start" brigade, know this: there will never be a right time to start. This is a journey that you must take, just knowing where you're going, but being prepared to deal with any situations that arise on the way. No one can plan this journey for you, and no one will be able to tell you what might happen. This is your unique journey, and provided that you know where you want to end up and do everything that you can to move towards it, you cannot fail to get there. Well, there you go. Val and I will cover some of this in more detail in our comments video that we do after. So make sure that you check that one out. And the next step is one of my favourites, and we will discuss how to really anchor your gratitude and start seeing some amazing results. See you on the next step.